Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our second Flesh and Scrubs thing, broadcast, video, something. Those are a lot of words that all mean kind of the same thing, but we're not very good at those words here, so we're just doing what we can. I am Bear, they, them pronouns, and with me is Nat.
Hello, I am Nat, also they them pronouns or she they pronouns.
And welcome. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about Nat's deck that she has made for our Secret Santa event that's coming up. If you saw the previous video, I talked a little bit about it. Essentially, what we are doing is we are all making a Flesh and Blood Clash deck for our secret giftee, and then we are going to do the thing where we hand them out, and then we're going to have a big tournament. So we're going to get to play these decks, and we're going to get to try fun things that we might not otherwise do using a format that should really be a lot more popular. I really don't know how Commoner is more popular than Clash. Clash just lets you use so much more. It gives you so much more hero identity. So, enough of my rambling. We have everything should be set up. My technological prowess is mediocre at best, just like my gameplay. So we have you should be able to see the both of us. You should be able to see the deck that we have up here, which is Nat's Katsu deck for the Secret Santa. You did have a couple of different decks you made, Nat. Is that correct?
Yeah, I went a little overboard because building for Clash got me excited.
It's always a great thing. And why did
Yeah,
you pick Katsu? What hit you with Katsu that made you want to build that instead of something else?
sure. So the number one thing when I was going into Clash, of course, I suppose we should say, I mean, I know some people at our shop were not familiar with the idea of Clash as a format, so I guess I'll probably mention just to make sure everyone's on the same page. Clash, of course, is being limited to common and rare cards, with the exception of hero specializations, and it's that last sentence that really got my attention. In a format where you have rarity and therefore generally power caps on most cards, specializations being an exception for that really caught me as this really flavorful build around point to start with for a deck. So really, I just started with looking up a list of specializations and which heroes had them. And Katsu jumped out at me. Katsu has three specializations, all playing into a really interesting mechanic with his combo mechanic. I've been interested. I think Katsu and the combo mechanic are really interesting. But another one of the things I was looking at going into Clash is decks and heroes that maybe don't really see play in other formats. I mean, due to the nature of the combo mechanic, especially since Bonds of Ancestry was lost, Katsu's really fallen out of favor in Blitz and Classic Constructed and similar formats. So this really seemed like a great place where I could play around with some of those combo mechanics again, those big, long, chunky combo lines, especially because Katsu wonderfully has multiple specializations that cap off one of those combo lines.
Very good. And also, I've noticed that Katsu's hero ability lets you fish for your specializations, so you're going to have better and faster access to them than a lot of other decks in the format are.
Exactly. So of course we have woo I have the deck sitting next to me. So
Perfect.
really with the Katsu deck what we're building around is the Mugenshi release. Oh yeah, I guess cameras do reflect these, but
Well,
um
I can
but
just do
Mugenshi release
this.
Lord of Wind.
I can click a button, and now everybody's looking at this Mugenshi release.
There we go. So Mugenshi released Lord of the Wind and Visit the Floating Dojo, all specializations supporting the same combo chain off of Surging Strike. Combination of Surging, right? I'm not going insane. Yeah, Surging Strike, Whelming Gust Wave, leading into Mugenshi release, Lord of Wind, and of course Bonds of Ancestry, which might be banned in other formats, but it's not in Clash. And then Visit the Floating Dojo gives us wonderful consistency combined with the rest of these, since that lets us go fetch those surging strikes back along with our combo cards, along with our big specialization high damage cards like Lord of Wind and Mugenshi. Um, really just giving these nice, clear, clean combo plays. I think one thing I saw a lot at the Katsu decks I was looking at, and a lot of the precons, things like the Katsu Blitz deck from Outsiders, is kind of a large number of these combo chains kind of going in, trying to put the head jab and twin twisters and surging strike and leg tap all in the same deck. And in my opinion, that really muddies it. So with my deck, I was really trying to build nice and cleanly around surging strike as the primary thing we're doing most turns, trying to get one of these surging strike combo chains running.
Gotcha. And what happens when you start to run low on those surging strikes?
So that's where, of course, we do have some help coming to us in the form of Visit the Floating Dojo and in the form of Lord of Wind, which helps refresh all of these. But we do have a backup as well. We, of course, have our Harmonized Kodachis. Wouldn't be Katsu if he wasn't playing his Harmonized Kodachis.
Of course.
And then we also have it filled out with a few cards from the head jab combo chain. So that's head jab leading into 1-2 punch, open the center, and recoil. These really caught my eye mainly because head jab does work well with Be Like Water already in this deck in order to provide an extra starting point for the combo chain with Surging Strike. Can do the same with head jab. And then head jab along with 1-2 punch and recoil are all 0 drops. So we all have the opportunity. Those can feed our Harmonized Kodachis. Those can get pitched to Katsu. Not pitched, discarded to Katsu. So those are just further 0 cost cards while also giving us nice short combo chains. If we do find ourselves having to be defensive, we might still be able to hold back just a head jab and a 1-2 punch, be able to land a couple clean moves and get in our Kodachis as well. So really just some nice clean ability to even take advantage of smaller hands.
This sounds great. And let's take a quick look at the equipment that you brought with this deck. I see Blood Drop Brocade. Normally, you see a whole lot of Blossom of Spring. Is that the one?
Blossom of Spring, yeah.
And
Yeah, I mean, of course, we have a very limited chest slot pool at common and rare.
yeah, I think we're going to be seeing a lot of Blossom. But you went with Blood Drop. Why was Blood Drop the answer for you?
So Blood Drop is what caught my eye because Blood Drop is able to be played throughout a combo chain. We're able to play that at instant speed as long as we've done at least 1 damage, which is going to give us the ability to get those extra resources, especially when we have things like Mugenshi release that actually require a resource later in the chain. Even if we have to pitch our best pitches to Surging Strike to get the combo going, Blood Drop Brocade could give us an extra activation on Mugenshi release while still keeping the chain going, where if we were to pop a Blossom of Spring, we're going to end up breaking our chain and resetting our combo.
Mm-hmm. There's definitely something good to be said about having the flexibility of Blood Drop Brocade for the way this deck works. And I see Breaking Scales, which seems like a very good pick for how your deck is built. The one
Yeah, I mean,
Battle Worn on that is really fantastic. And yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. I think Breaking Scales and Tide Flippers are both just easy fits as our common ninja specific equipment. Both of them are working very well with just trying to barrage the foe with a bunch of small damage combo cards that are building on each other. Breaking Scales is going to make our combos hit harder. Tide Flippers is going to make sure that we can keep these combos going even when we end a chain with something like Recoil or 1-2 Punch that doesn't have Go Again, or even, of course, our big specializations. We can give them Go Again artificially through Tide Flippers and therefore be able to keep the attacks rolling, try and burn through our hands successfully. Because, of course, for any ninja deck, it's just going to be about trying to keep the attacks flowing, keep things going. If we get put on the defensive, bad things are going to happen.
Gotcha. And yeah, I see Mask of Many Faces looks like it's a perfect way to start the line if you don't have exactly what you need ready to go. And more Blade Break, because in this format, the extra health is a lot harder to find on equipment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you don't have a lot of good blocking options when you're working with this type. Well, I mean, really, your best options for blocking are often just going to be Iron Rot and Iron Hide. So
When I was
I
building my
wanted to
decks,
avoid
yeah.
those. Yep. I
They go
wanted
in
to
everything.
avoid those for Katsu for the same reason I didn't put any of our expected null runes in here, is just simply Katsu doesn't want to be blocking. Katsu doesn't want to be taking that time to get those blocks off when what he really wants is to have as full a hand as possible to go in and, try to get in as much damage as he can each turn.
Yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense. So, my next question for you, and this one might be a little bit trickier. I see that you have 6 arena cards, 40 deck cards, and then 2 in the inventory. That puts us at 48. You get 4 extra spots in here. What's up going on with that?
That's true. I wasn't quite sure what else to do with the 4 extra slots. So right now the inventory is hosting a little bit of flex slots with some other yellow cards that can combo into head jab. Mostly because I'm not sure exactly what the best ratios for those head jab combos are going to be.
Hmm.
Of course, they're 0 drops, so it's hard to go wrong. In the worst case scenarios, you just play them out as your last card,
Hmm.
even without their combo bonus. But I wasn't 100% on how they'd fit in there. And then from there, there's simply, besides just trying to fill in some extra slots with some of our classic generic filler, which, of course, you know very well, I have a lot of opinions on generic filler. Um, I restricted myself with this since we were playing with such a specific combo based mechanic for this.
Hmm.
Really, Nimblism is our only generic filler going in here, and that's really all that comes to mind with this would be either Nimblism or Razor's Edge. But Razor's Edge, we lose that nice benefit of extra 0 drops. Razor's Edge comes in at,
Hmm.
I want to say it's a 1 or a 2, which means we're not going to be able to use it to pump our Kodachis. We're not going to be able to use it to go find a combo card with Katsu. So really, yeah, we definitely have 4 more slots in there to fill out the inventory, but I'm not 100% on what the best fits in there would be at this point.
Yeah, well, anybody listening to this or watching this on YouTube, feel free to drop comments on what might make a good fit in here because, hey, we're a bunch of scrubs here. We're happy to take whatever suggestions you might have for us.
Definitely.
Now, is there anything else you want to say about Katsu before we take a look at one of your other decks?
No, I don't think so. I think that pretty much covers the bases with Katsu.
Sounds good. Now, the next deck we're going to take a look at, because one of the ways we're trying to keep everything covered with the Secret Santa system, sometimes we've all done these before where somebody forgets their deck, or somebody just doesn't do what they're supposed to, or somebody gets sick last minute, or their car breaks down and somebody's left hanging. To avoid that, we've got a lot of folks who are bringing in a second or a third or a fourth deck to give away just in case. Um, so we're going to take a look at one of those that you've put together also, which is Iyslander. Oh, let's hit the button and make it nice and
Definitely.
big. So Iyslander. Why Iyslander?
So again, Iyslander comes from a very similar point to Katsu. Again, looking at specializations, Iyslander has 2 really great specializations that play perfectly together. I mean, we have uh, Frost Hex giving her this constant source of recurring damage, and then we have her big win in what is it, Ice Eternal, giving her this nice, big, expensive hit that can do a large chunk of damage, get a bunch of frostbites on, and then also trigger a frost hex on top of that and get in even more damage. And I think that's realistically how Iyslander is going to be closing out her games in Clash, since the rest of her card pool isn't amazing.
Right.
So again, I was looking through the big list on FA Brary of just specializations. So Iyslander popped out as being 2 specializations, work together very well, very clean, tight game plan. And then similar to Katsu, but for the opposite reason, again, I was looking for heroes that don't necessarily see a lot of play in our other formats. Iyslander doesn't because she got Living Legend everywhere.
Yeah, I know a lot
Turns
of
out
people who
she's
are.
pretty good.
Yeah, I know a lot of people who were very happy when she went, and I'm very excited to see her come back out and give people the frostbite hell.
Exactly. So I'm interested to see how she plays. I believe, based on some of the videos posted on FA Burry's page for Clash, I think she is considered a pretty solid deck. But I mean, she's straightforward, but still an interesting, very controlling play style, trying to grind the opponent out with frostbites, with just these constant little chunks of arcane damage until she's able to combo off with these big finishers like Frost Hex Nice Eternal.
Yeah, I did see you have a very high concentration of blues in this deck. What was it, 26 blues? So
Yes.
almost 2/3 of your deck is blues, and seeing they are almost all non-attack actions, being able to play them out of your arsenal on your opponent's turn, enabling the Waning Moon, seems like it gives you a lot of constant pressure on your opponent's turn.
Exactly, especially with cards like Emeritus Scolding that are going to take advantage of that, or even cards like lost track of that sentence. Yeah, Emeritus Scolding being able to take advantage of Brothers in Arms being able to take advantage of having all that extra resources hanging around from these blues. Um, Gives us a lot of flexibility on making the best use of our resources while also being able to constantly and consistently pressure. One of the big things that really draws to me in Flesh and Blood is finding decks that don't play the way a Flesh and Blood deck normally does. So seeing a deck like Iyslander that's almost in some ways a draw go magic deck in how she plays, just being this very controlling tempo-y pressure deck is really interesting to me.
Oh, 100%. That's why I used to play her when she first came out. And being able to come. For those of you who don't know me, my favorite thing in Flesh and Blood is to play a different game than Flesh and Blood. So I am completely on board with that. I love my wizards, I love my illusionists, and I love the way this deck has come together. I do notice,
Definitely.
though.
I
Oh,
obviously.
go.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go, go.
All right. I was just going to say, I obviously, as you know, I'm fairly new to Flesh and Blood. I have not been playing for very long. So I completely missed Iyslander. And we did just play one of the few other formats where she is legal with our Uprising draft this past weekend. And I, again, did not get the chance to see any Iyslander decks in action, as we did not have a single person in our pod build Iyslander.
Oh,
And
that was
I
such
regret
a
it in some
mess.
ways. If I'd been a little more bold, I could have just gone for it.
Oh, yeah, and you would have probably cleaned up. We had a really good Icelander pool, and it just kept getting passed and
I
passed
ended
and
up with an
passed.
Icelander deck by the end anyways. I probably could have just switched to her in game two.
Oh, that's great. So one thing I am notice is missing out of maybe a more traditional wizard deck is you don't have a lot of the big red spells. Was that a conscious choice, or did you just not really have room for those?
Um, a bit of a conscious choice, a bit of a not really having room. I mean, we definitely leaned into the blues, but it's also largely because this deck has a lot of ice fusions. Between Ice Eternal, Brain Freeze, uh, Aether Ice Vein, all these cards want us to have these extra ice cards in hand. And once we start digging into some of those classics, I mean, yeah, there's definitely room for us to swap out some of these classic generic defense filler. But in general, I preferred to keep the blues going and keep those ice cards going to make sure we're hitting our fusions as often as possible. Because, I mean, an Ice Eternal, when you don't have the opportunity to fuse it, that's a win con gone. So I was really trying to be mindful of that, and it's possible I went a little overboard on the ice cards, if I'm being honest. But again, because this isn't a hero I have a lot of experience with, I was sort of trying to put it together by feel.
Oh, right. We do take a look at this, and you do still have 5 sideboard slots in there, so you can mess around with some stuff. I see you did put the Null Rune in. It looks like Icelander respects wizards more than Katsu does.
Well, Iyslander has the resources and the long game to actually care about defending against wizards. Um, So, I mean, all these blue cards definitely turn on her Null Rune in a way that Katsu just doesn't have the resources for. And then, of course, we have Spellfire up atop. Um, and we have Conduit of Frostburn giving us some extra source of Quell, so we have an emergency block if we really need to start dumping our blue cards to that.
Yeah. So it looks like both of your decks are pretty solid, and I am certain anybody who gets either of these decks is going to be super happy with them.
I'm really excited to see them play out in action.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for watching, folks, and thank you very much, Nat, for joining us here tonight. You will probably be seeing more of Nat. Nat's, again, one of our locals, and just to make sure folks understand, Flesh and Scrubs is not me. Flesh and Scrubs is all of us. I'm just the one with the free time and the boredom to put this together. So this weekend, we are doing our skirmish at VTC in Mansfield, Mass., which is where we generally play. And I, unfortunately, am not going to be there. But I'm going... Oh, that's sad. But
I've got work on that day.
Oh, just quit. It's okay, right? Flipping cards is more important than keeping a roof over your head. But yeah, I'm going to be at PAX Unplugged in Philadelphia. I'm going to be judging and running some demos and stuff there. So if you saw this and you see me there, stop by and say hi. And either way, I hope to do one or two more of these interview video things over the next week. And with luck, we have been having a lot of trouble with hardware because I am terrible at this stuff. But we have been streaming some of our local armories. So the armory that we're doing the Saturday after this week, we will hopefully have video of that so that you can watch some of us play from very poorly to reasonably well. We have all kinds of people who play at all kinds of levels. Sometimes the same people play different levels, different days. So it's going to be a fun time. Anything else you'd like to say before we go, Nat?
No, I mean, I think I will just take the moment to plug the stores we play at as well. Obviously, as Bear said, VTC in Mansfield. I only recently found my way there, and it's a fantastic place. Anyone that lives in the greater Providence, Boston metropolitan area, it is right next to the MBTA commuter rail, so easy on, easy off. Come play some games with us.
Yeah, we've been. We don't charge there for armories. We try to keep it relatively casual, but we do get on an average week between like 12 and 16 people playing. So we have some reasonable attendance, pretty good for the area. And if we could get everybody who plays semi-regularly in the room at the same time, which we're going to be doing for our Christmas Clash Secret Santa, which is just a fun thing to say. That is going to, we're going to have, I think we have 18 people signed up at this point now, and I know of at least 2 people who picked up the game recently who are going to hopefully be there too. So maybe we can hit 20 for that. That'd be fantastic. And with that, we're going to wish you all a good night. Thanks again. Also,
Good night. Happy holidays.
Yeah, if you don't mind hitting that subscribe button and give it a like and share and stuff, we super appreciate it. We are so brand new. We have like you. If you're watching this, you're one of the few, and we thank you for being here. And now I got to figure out how to end this. Oh, and bye-bye.